Oh, hi, I'm glad you're here. This is a short chapter from this book of mine called Bat Dreams, and it's about drinking ayahuasca in the jungle of Ecuador in 1994 with a guy called Don Joaquin, who's a shaman of the Sequoia tribe. This chapter is called Levi's Genes. A week later, Joaquin and I brewed yahe again, yahe being the local name for ayahuasca. A sequoia in his 20s was visiting from Peru. He didn't want to drink in the ceremony. He had snuck in through Colombia because Ecuador and Peru were enemies, and their border had been a military zone since 1941. His name was Reynaldo Levi. My family on my father's side belongs to the Jewish tribe of Levi. I wondered at the coincidence. At dusk, as Joaquin and I were hanging hammocks for the ceremony, I asked Reynaldo, "Levi, is that an indigenous name?" "No," he said, "it comes from the old boss." "What old boss?" "Mauricio Levi, a Peruvian." "That's a Jewish name. It's in my family. Levi is my tribe. We're all descended from one guy in the Bible. This Mauricio was probably a distant relative of mine." "Okay, come on, what's the story?" "Joaquin should tell you. He was there." Joaquin nodded and spoke. "First, we Sequoias, working under another guy, a good boss, Paco Carmona, tapping rubber. Then Carmona dying. Mauricio becoming the boss, wanting too much work. We working for him 6 days a week. 7th day, hunting. He having a lot of people working for him, keeping their kids under the house so people couldn't leaving. A lot of us on this river moving to Cuyabeno to escape him. 1942, time of the war between Ecuador and Peru. Later, the people there killing Mauricio Levi. First, hitting him on the back with a canoe paddle. Then the shamans bewitching. Then he dying, the people taking his name. I nodded and cracked open a soft, green, spiky achiote pod with a barely audible "puk." I lifted it to my nostrils and sniffed its fragrant pungency, bittersweet as history. Then finger-painted spots of its oily crimson juice on my nose, cheeks, and chin. Reynaldo said goodnight and went off to bathe in the river before going to sleep in the other hut. As I begin to choom, I reflect, I'm distantly related to a guy who once enslaved my teacher. My people and these people have already met. Our stories have already intertwined. In fact, in the whole world there's only one story, intricately intertwined with infinite roots and branches. There's only one story, I repeat. How well do you know the story? The yahe comes on strong. Holy fuck, I managed to think, being beyond speech. I gnash my eyes in frenzied wonderment. I yelp, howl, groan, stutter, roar, and do things with my voice that there are no words for. Joaquin, the world, and I explode into a 10-dimensional tapestry of light and sound. I'm an immortal soul in a weightless darkness. Trillions of tiny windows surround me, each looking in on one of my material lives. I drift backwards through one of those windows, out of that bardo and into my hammock. I watch the lights of fireflies outside the hut, flashing, dancing fireworks. They share their cool, vibrant energy with me. To face my fear of death, I don't need either to be famous or to reproduce. Every action we take is immortal. We're constantly emitting our personality. which is absorbed by our environment in such a way that our energy continues endlessly to live, just as we carry the vitality of the dead within us. This is immortality. The fireflies flash bright at that thought. A thought flashes in my mind. They're celestial spirits in the form of insects. They blink and reply, yes, we are. Whisper of leaves in trees. A rooster sings out in the blinking dark. Pre-dawn calm vibrates with insect song and cicada song. The first melodic and gentle, the second a piercing hum. Another rooster crows, the sound's clarity echoing in my thoughts. I wonder if Reynaldo Levi is awake, sifting local sounds for rumors of distant game in the forest. The fireflies dance their cool fire. I remember the original Levi from the book of Genesis, one of Jacob's 12 sons. A bit of a terrorist, our forefather. See, the prince of a neighboring tribe raped Levi's sister, Dinah. Levi said, okay, you had sex with her, you have to marry her. The prince agreed. Levi said, to marry her, you have to be circumcised. The prince agreed. Levi said, to satisfy our traditions, all the other members of your group, all the other men have to be circumcised too. Then you can marry her. The prince agreed. The prince and his men circumcised themselves. While they were resting in their pain, Levi and his brother Simeon went over and slaughtered them and brought Dinah home. That's my badass ancestor, the guy my tribe is named after. And Mauricio, another of Levi's descendants, enslaved the sequoias until they couldn't take it anymore. Then they killed him and took his name as if it were a trophy of war, just as Levi himself would have done. At dawn, Reynaldo appeared wearing a baseball cap and toting a shotgun. He said he was going hunting and asked if he could paint his face with my achiote pod, which was still lying at the edge of the floor. I said sure, and he and I looked at each other and smiled, thinking the same thought, that the achiote in that pod was charged with power because I wore some of it on my face during the intense ceremony. He rubbed the blood-red oily pigment on his forehead and cheeks and strode off down the path that led away from the river and into the forest. At 4 p.m, I was carrying a pot of water back from a stream to the hut when I had a sudden thought that the visitor had just killed an animal. 2 hours after that, Reynaldo Levi reappeared on the path with a big smile on his face, carrying a dead deer on his shoulders. Thank you. Please like and subscribe.